So this will be my last story for a little while, as I have plans in the future to do a massive Walmart horror story compilation, as I worked at a Walmart neighborhood market for about 2.5 years, and I have far too many stories to tell in just a short video, or really even a single video. So, without further ado, today we're going to be talking about the trashy nightmare that was my local Lowe's store. Roll the intro. This video is sponsored by the Coldest Water. During the lockdown, it was difficult for me to get my proper daily water intake, but with the Coldest 32-ounce sports bottle, it's really helped me to get my health back on track. Drinking more water is something that's always been a struggle for me, but honestly not anymore thanks to this bottle. I can fill it up with ice at the beginning of my work shift, and it's still full of ice when I clock out for the day. If I wanted to spice things up a bit, I could even keep my drink cold for up to 36 hours, which is way past the amount of time I'm usually working. Not to mention, it also keeps your drinks hot for up to 12 hours as well, so it's a win-win situation for all you coffee drinkers out there. I even bring the bottle with me when I go to the gym, so it's nice to have after a good cardio workout. It's really convenient, and it really helps for gas mask wearing nerds like yours truly. Links are in the description if you want to check them out yourself, and if you want to get a similar bottle, this is the Coldest 32-ounce sports bottle. I'm sure you've heard the slogan, Lowe's, never stop improving. Well, let me tell you that I have no idea what they're improving from, because from the get-go, things were pretty terrible on a consistent basis. So really the only thing improving was the manager's paycheck every week based on the labor that we provided. Anyway, so this story starts in about mid-October of 2021. I applied for the job on Indeed, and I eventually got a call back saying, hey, do you want to come in for an interview? So the interview was pretty straightforward. I was brought into the back office, and I spoke with one of the assistant managers. They asked me the basic interview questions, such as why I wanted to work there, what my skill set was, and telling them about myself, things like that. I asked, what was the dress code like, and, what's a typical day, if there was an employee of the month, what would that employee have done to get that position? So after we were done, he left the room for a minute. I think he was talking to another supervisor about me and just, getting an agreement to see if I was worth hiring. So after a few minutes, he came back and he gave me a job offer right on the spot. Keep in mind that this was during the height of the Great Resignation, and it was really starting to kick into gear, so they were desperate for any kind of help that they could get. And me being qualified with lots of retail experience, they wanted to hire me on the spot. So naturally I accepted the job offer, and surprisingly enough, they had me drug test right on the spot as well. It was a mouth swab test, and honestly this was the first time I've done a drug test since I was in high school, as no previous job I've had before this required me to do one. So they sent the drug test in and told me that I'd be able to come back in once it came back clean. Which of course it did, because I don't do hard drugs or anything crazy that would disqualify me. So on my training day when I came in, I was given my badge, given a quick rundown of the store, and like every other job, fed the indoctrinating anti-union bullshit that most large companies I've worked for spoon-feed employees. I was hired as a front-end cashier, so it was very similar to my experience at Walmart, and I could honestly summarize the job as Walmart, but a little more chill. And what I mean by that is that it was far less busy than Walmart, and I never really felt swamped by customers like I did back at Walmart. There were some times that there was no customers in the store for like 20 minutes at a time, and sometimes even an hour. Or if there were, they were getting paint, lumber, or they were in the outside lawn and garden department. Overall, it honestly functioned the same exact way as Walmart did, even to the point they had an unspoken 10-foot rule, which basically means to greet customers who are within 10 feet of you. So the first month or so wasn't really terrible. It had its ups and downs, but as time went on, they got more familiar with me, and then they started to take advantage of me. So Lowe's has a thing called head cashiers that are basically the full-time supervisors who have full control over the registers, and they can override them if there's an issue. Ignoring the flashbacks from Save-A-Lot, it happened pretty often since this was a hardware store. We had a lot of people spending hundreds to even thousands of dollars in a single purchase. Problem is, people would get so irate about their discounts. Some brand names are just really stingy with discounting their products, so not everything qualifies. They could either use a Lowe's credit card, which gives you a certain percentage discount, or alternatively, if you're a military veteran, you get a certain percentage off every purchase. I believe it was 10%, but I don't recall exactly what our store's policy was. While I don't have an issue with veteran discounts as a whole, and I try to honor them as best I can whatever stores provide them, I do have an issue when the person coming to my line completely ignores what I have to say and just says, "military," or becomes a condescending child pointing at their veteran hat and expecting me to kiss their boot. It's a privilege, not a right. I love and support our military veterans, and I strike up conversation with the ones who are kind in return, and I have many friends who are in the service actively or retired. Though sadly, like the guy at Toys R Us, some people use it as an excuse to just downright be awful to people. I've had people scream at me when I tell them that the veterans discount only applies to certain items, and not everything is discounted. I have no control over it. If they have a problem with it, they can talk with management, because as a grunt, I can't change store policy. So, honestly, if you have an issue, well, here's a tissue. So going along with discounts and Lowe's cards and the like, one thing that they pushed heavily was surveys. So at my store, they asked us after every transaction to ask the customer if they had a good experience, and if they did, to go to the website and the receipt, write our name down, and give us a 10. The thing is, though, that customers weren't even allowed to be honest on the surveys. If they had a sort of meh experience, they couldn't actually vocalize that because our manager or supervisor would step in and promise them all these things, from discounts to in-store events and just other things, to try to change their view and essentially have them lie. What I mean by this is that, like with certain retail businesses that push in-store credit card quotas to beat other stores in the district, Lowe's would use survey scores from 9 to 10 to beat other Lowe's stores in the region. However, anything below a 9 was considered an unacceptable score to the store, and we were heavily encouraged to manipulate the customer into giving us a 10. The thing is, they should just be honest about their experience, because that helps us improve, and they sure as hell shouldn't be promised free stuff or a reward for doing it. Honesty shouldn't have an incentive, and Lowe's was really scummy about that. Anyway, so the management team over there was just notoriously shady and scummy. Even other people outside of Lowe's I've spoken to in my community have heard stories about them. At one point, the store manager was even under investigation for some financial scheme he was doing, and was absent for a few weeks. There was a supervisor named Cindy who I absolutely despised as a human being, and I still despise. She was rude, cussed in front of customers, and had an ego that would make Emperor Palpatine jealous. So when she wasn't there, I just did my simple cashier work, sanitized, and was on my way. When Cindy was working, she would push her own tasks that she didn't feel like doing onto me, because I couldn't say anything without risking getting disciplinary action. There was a time I had already been frustrated with her because when putting up some energy drinks on the shelf, she spilled one all over me and I had no opportunity to change. So I was in a shirt with all this sticky goop from the energy drink on me, and it was not comfortable. Did she apologize to me or help me clean up? No, she just smiled at me and had me keep working. So later on, when I was watching self-checkout, she gave me this box full of probably like 500 gift cards and told me to unpack them all and organize them while watching the self-checkout lanes. I don't understand how she expected me to do both at the same time, but it was something she was supposed to do, not me. But she pawned it off on me because I couldn't do anything about it as a regular employee. So I called her out on it, and then later that day she sends me a threatening in-store work email, and I decided to bring this up with management. As expected, they did absolutely nothing and took her side, saying things like, "Oh, well, it's not possible for the head cashiers to do all their tasks," which is a complete blatant lie, because every other head cashier that worked there never pawned any of their tasks on me. It was specifically Cindy that did that. There were numerous other instances where, understandably, we were short-staffed and we needed to cross-train, because I had seen numerous head cashiers and just other employees come in for like a week and then leave. I was probably one of the few that stayed there for an extended period of time, save for the management team. However, at least at my store, each department had a separate job, so outside lawn and garden was its own position, and if you went to Indeed, you had to apply for that specific position to get that specific job. Yet Cindy decided to throw me out there without even so much as training me and expecting me to know what to do out there. Thing is, I couldn't even relax out there either, because I recall dead in the wintertime, it got to negative temperatures in the wind chill. So to combat this, some employees created a boxed up register booth with a portable heater included. There's also a shower curtain as well that prevented wind from coming in from the entranceway. But Cindy decided she was going to single me out and report me to management because I was apparently hiding from the customers by being in the booth to shield myself from the wind chill. The thing is, nobody's really coming into outside lawn and garden in the dead of winter after Christmas time, so there really wasn't that many customers to begin with. The thing is, I could clearly see customers outside and they could see me. Sometimes I would even get thrown into a completely separate type of job entirely, as one time they threw me into the lumber department cleaning the wood shavings and spotting for the forklift. I remember there was a time that there was a disagreement between the head cashier and one of the managers because I was overdoing that when I was supposed to be doing cashier work, because they were just so confused on what I was actually supposed to be doing at that store. Sure, it was nice to get away from the front, but doing the wood shaving, cleaning, and spotting for the forklift wasn't my job. The thing that I hated the most about this job was that no matter how many times I negotiated working more hours during the week, they absolutely refused to give me weekends off. So the issue I had with that is that my morning job is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, so I was working 7 days a week with absolutely no days off. So I had no days where I could just sit and relax and sleep in without having to worry about going somewhere. I worked from Thanksgiving to Christmas with no days off and no rest. They refused to budge on this, and I heard from another employee that wanted to get weekends off, and they asked the store manager about it, and he blatantly told them that cashiers will not get weekends off ever. And if we wanted weekends off, we had to apply for the merchandising sales team position. This is the kind of scummy behavior I'm talking about. I also remember a time 2 guys came in and legit left the store with $300 worth of merchandise in their cart without paying. I watched them do it, and I couldn't do anything about it. I managed to get their information from the transaction, and one of the nicer managers got their license plate info, but the problem is we don't have an asset protection team at that store, so people can just go in and steal stuff with no repercussions whatsoever. So after that, things just kept going downhill. I recall during New Year's Eve it was frosting outside because an ice storm was coming in, and they refused to let me leave on my scheduled out time. I stayed an extra 45 minutes in the store because they refused to let me leave. I understand that some stores have a policy where everybody has to leave or at least be accompanied by somebody to go out in the parking lot because it's a safety concern, but I'm more than capable of taking care of myself, and I don't want to be stuck in a store while the winter apocalypse is happening outside. So this was kind of the final nail in the coffin after my car had trouble starting and my door was frozen solid because I was unable to beat the impending apocalypse outside because of some stupid company policy. So for my last few days, I just no-called, no-showed, similar to Target, and I've not been inside that store since. If I ever have any hardware purchases, I'd much rather go to the Home Depot because it's much cleaner, more professional, and at least there I can trust that my product won't be broken when I order it. And the attitude is just overall better. So that's my Lowe's horror story. I can't speak for every Lowe's store, some places might be good, but personally, in my experience at the one that I worked at, it was horrible, and I will probably never walk in that store again on my own free will. But anyway, before I end this video, I wanted to give a quick shout out to my brother actually. He recently started his own YouTube channel called Skynia History, where he uses his teaching degree to cover many topics related to historical events and different military related things. So, if you're a history buff and want to support my bro, go check his channel out, which I'll put in the description and also in the outro of this video, and go give him some love. He'll really appreciate it, and I'll appreciate it too for helping out my family. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.